What do we need to eat in order to be healthy? This simple question is not considered as much as it should be in our society, and we're not taking the time to plan for our nutrition. And this is taking a toll on our health. So let's take a look at this and see what we need to eat for, and then find the foods that best meet our needs. We need to eat to get a constant flow of a fuel to power our body's functions, as well as to feel energized and not to feel depleted. So we need to avoid the habits that are a burden on our organs. We need to eat the foods that heal us and support our immune system, as well as taking in the foods that support our thinking and our clarity of thought now and later on in years. We need to eat for growth when we're growing at the growing part periods of our life cycle, but also every day because we're constantly replenishing our cells and growing tissue. We need to eat for endurance, and what I mean by that is we need to nourish ourselves and then feel energized and comfortable until it's time to nourish ourselves again. So what parts in food do we need to take in to accomplish these tasks? Well, we need to take in our three essential macronutrients: carbohydrate, protein, and fat. And they're plentiful throughout our food supply, particularly in whole plant foods. We get them all in whole plant foods, and we get them in the proper proportions that our body needs to function most efficiently. Along with these macronutrients come the micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, as well as antioxidants and phytonutrients and stuff we haven't even discovered yet. But what we know is that all of these nutrients work together in order to maintain health. They don't work in isolation from each other. So our body is looking for the package with all of the stuff in it that it recognizes. Unlike refined and processed foods, where some stuff might be missing and other stuff might be compromised. For instance, the carbohydrate in refined and processed foods is often not whole. The fiber is missing, or it's blended up to a point that it doesn't function as the body needs it to, and it's not effective in regulating how much and how quickly we absorb nutrients. So we find these macronutrients in category number 2, but quite often in our processed foods and oil-filled foods and chips and snacks, we are missing something. This affects our health. Animal foods are a great supply of protein and fat, but there's no fiber in there. There's almost no carbohydrate in animal foods, and therefore the fiber that's missing does not regulate how quickly we take in these other macronutrients. And so we tend to get too much with animal foods, and we tend to get other stuff that we don't want, that is not supporting our health, including cholesterol and excess hormones that are very similar to our own, like estrogens and growth hormones like IGF-1, that spur on growth and development. Extra estrogen is associated with fibrous growth, fibroids, cancer growth, like breast and prostate cancer, for instance. So having these extra growth hormones around does not benefit us and spurs on the aging process of our cells, and thus the aging of our body. That's not something we want. So as you can see, category number 1 wins in my book, and the foods in this category offers us the most effective way to take in nutrients to support health. So let's take a spin around food and see what these foods are. Let's start with the vegetables, which is the crown atop the plant-based kingdom. We need to get colorful vegetables into our lives every day and into every meal. So eat the salads with lettuces and spinach and cucumber and peppers and mushrooms and all the different colorful vegetables we can add to our salads. Use lightly steamed asparagus and peas and other vegetables added into the salad. Cruciferous vegetables can be roasted or steamed. I love just plain steamed cabbage. These are really health promoting foods. So find the new recipes, make sauces out of tomato, and add a new recipe or vegetable into your diet every day. And and add the fruits, colorful fruits that have carbohydrate, which breaks down to sugar, with the fiber. And the fiber in the whole foods regulates how quickly the carbohydrate turns to sugar into the blood, and therefore regulates blood sugar and insulin levels. You can't take in too much if you have the carbohydrate with the fiber in the whole plant food. So eat the berries and apples and bananas with abandon in your breakfast porridge. Have kiwi and stone fruit like peaches when they're ripe seasonally, and citrus like oranges around. So these are your go-to treats and snacks. Tubers. I love talking about tubers. There are so many kinds, and these root vegetables are the storage house of nutrients and carbohydrate for the plant. And when we take them in, we get the benefits. So bake sweet potatoes and yams, as try different varieties of potatoes in your stews and soups. Mash them. You can mash any tubers. You can add shredded beets to your salad. So go for it. Don't forget the carrots. And try different tubers in a variety in your diet. As well as grains, there are so many to try: barley, buckwheat, bulgur, corn, millet, oats, quinoa. They all have a different nutty taste. They all cook the same, just simmered in water, but various times. Quinoa is a lovely, light, and nutty grain that cooks up in 15 minutes. So if you haven't tried that, I really recommend it. Brown rice is such a satiating and one of the least allergenic foods, and so it's a very bland food that's comforting and is a really good food to base your dishes on. Get beans in your diet. I get beans in my diet every day. Pinto, black beans, kidney beans, these lend themselves to Mexican or Spanish dishes. Just add some salsa and you've got a fiesta going. Lentils cook up very similarly to brown rice, so they make a lovely pilaf together. Garbanzo beans make hummus. That is a common Mediterranean food. Many beans are very creamy and buttery, and they lend themselves to salad dressings and sauces. So find new ways to try beans out and add them to stuff. Salads and soups, make wraps and rice dishes with them. So, as a review, include generous amounts of vegetables and fruits at every meal, and add starchy foods to fill you up and satiate you, and add more nutrients and fiber. A word on nuts and seeds, which are very nutritious foods, but they're higher in fat and lower in fiber. So mediate these foods and moderate them in your diet, particularly if you're watching your weight or if you have a chronic disease like cardiovascular disease. So in summary, get your nutrients from whole plant foods rather than refined, sugary, fatty foods or heavy animal foods, and consider that processed foods made from a bunch of isolated nutrients do not work as effectively in the body. So concentrate on the overall diet and the whole foods you get into them, and you will allow your body to find the highest state of health that it is capable of getting to.